Hey guys, thank you for joining me on their fight story. I have with us Randy Costa. Randy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing? I appreciate you having me on.
I'm doing great. Thank you for being on. I know you have a lot of things going on, so I appreciate taking some time out to have a little
Sure,
chat.
absolutely.
Now, Randy, you are in the UFC and you've had some epic finishes. Um, do you mind just going through um, like the fights that you've had where you've, you know, finished so quickly and how everything changed and then your first experience in the UFC?
Yeah, I think my story in like getting to where I am is everyone has their own story, but mine is way different. I was never like a fighter ever. I never had aspirations of being a fighter. Prior to my fight, the first time I've ever been punched in the face in any sort of actual situation was when I made my UFC debut. Going through all my fights through the local scene, I'd never been hit. It was just kind of an accident. I guess I slipped, fell, and made it to where I am. A lot of people guided me to where I am, and none of this is on purpose. It's a complete accident. Obviously, I worked really hard to get to where I am, but this was never like something I had set out to do. It was just kind of a lot of different situations kind of led me to where I am today. And obviously, this is a New England MMA kind of media thing. So obviously, I'm going to plug Devin Carrier, and that is, I guess, the reason why I ended up kind of where I am right now is 1,000% because of him.
Yeah, I mean, when I see you in your weigh-ins and I see you with your picture, like it gets me all the time. Because one, he's always with us, and
Yeah.
two, you make sure that he's never forgotten. And that to me, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's a part of me. So when you do that, I make sure, like, I remember you're like holding it, and I'm like, no, no, I gotta get it this way because I wanted to make sure people could see him in the
Yeah.
picture. Like, I get it, it's about, your picture, you, but I mean, what's the point of holding the picture if nobody's even gonna see his face? So, thank you for your patience with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Like I said, it's 100,000%. Um, you know, due to him. I had three amateur fights back to back to back, and then if you look at my inactivity, it was about 4 years. In that 4 years, Devin was still alive, and he would still push me like, "Ready to take a fight?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, whatever. I'm gonna fight." He's like, "Yeah,
yeah.
of course you are. Whatever. Shut up." And I never did, like just like he had said. But I told him that I would eventually get another fight. So when he passed, I owed it. I had to do it as a friendship, as a man, and as a man, I had to follow my word. I said I was going to do so. I told him I was going to do it. If he were still alive, I wouldn't have taken a fight ever. Like I'm confident in that. I took my pro debut because I told him that I owed him one fight. My plan was one and done, and it obviously went very well. And I owe it to him. So if you kind of see all my plugs like through fight week and through the weigh-ins and after the fight, I always have his picture because if circumstances were different and he were here today, then I wouldn't be here. So I owe it to him to take him to where he wanted to go.
That's beautiful. I got the chills.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not, definitely wasn't. I didn't plan to be here. He didn't. There was no plans for him to go away. So I have to do my part, and I have to bring him with me to where he wanted to go. So it's cool. It's definitely cool that I got to fight for something bigger than myself, and I don't get too wrapped up in all like the stupid bullshit, this, that, and I don't care what people have to say. I know who I am. I'm true to myself. I'm true to the people who are true to me, and then I think I show that, and you can tell with the way that I kind of conduct myself and present myself that this is genuine. Like, I'm not a con artist. I'm not bullshitting you. It's not an act. If I tell you like I'm doing it because of this reason, I really mean I'm doing because of this reason.
Oh yeah. Anybody who knows you knows that that's what it is. But unfortunately, you have fans and people who don't know you just watching and be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But from day one, you've always had him right there. When you walk into the cage, when you're doing your weigh-ins, when you walk into the cage, when you leave the cage, there's always a respect to him.
For sure. And my UFC debut, obviously I lost it, but I fought a super respect. And I don't have enough good things to say about my opponent on Brandon Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I fought on my UFC debut, and I lost that night. Obviously, he won. And he made it a point when he was getting interviewed by Rogan in the middle to take that picture of Devin and give him, the attention that Brandon knows that I would have given if I had won. So it was just so fucking cool how everything came about. And, obviously I lost that fight, came back in Boston and won. And, I'm not going to say I'm happy I lost my debut, but it would not have meant nearly as much to be able to go, in my hometown, now in front of all Devin's friends, in front of Devin's family, in front of where Devin grew up, in the arena that he, always wanted to be a part or compete in, and I got to go out there and hold his picture center, and it was just fucking unbelievable.
With everything, how has this made you or changed you? Has it obviously made you better, but what really just you decided?
I mean, I didn't have that fight. I didn't have any fights for 4 years or 3.5 years or whatever that number was, and it was 4 years. So if you're talking about someone going from 30 to 34, that's not that big of a jump. But if you're talking about someone going from 18 to 20, 22, 23, that's kind of a big jump in, not physical age, but mental age. I did a lot of growing during that time, obviously, like anyone else would do in their early 20s. But, in that time, I kind of learned, like, it's not all about like the sexy stuff and the pizzazz and, all the stuff that you see on social media and all these other little things. It's more so about just true, genuine happiness. Like, what are you happy with? I got in the UFC at 4-0. Everyone had something to say about it, good or bad. A lot of bad, a lot of jealousy. But I'm true to myself. I knew that I don't really give a fuck what anyone has to say. Number one is happiness, and I learned. If this were when I was 18 or 19 or 20, I may have, took all the things that people had to say and kind of sat on it and let it eat me alive. But now I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I have the number one thing I want, and that's happiness. There's nothing, it doesn't matter what anyone has to say. You cannot take away the things that I've done. Granted, did they come early? 1,000%. Did I get the fast track in? 1,000%. I 1,000% won the lottery. That's not anyone's fault. That's just the cards that I was dealt. So, people can say whatever they want. I have the number one thing, and that's happiness. So, I mean, that's really it.
Awesome. Now, there's one fight that I was at. Well, I was at pretty much all of them. But anyways, there was one that you honestly scared the crap out of me. And it was when you kicked that guy, it was like 7 seconds. I don't even know what it was.
2 years ago next month.
Huh?
It's 2 years ago next month.
Oh, was that scary? Oh my Lord Jesus. Like, I was like, when I saw him drop, because he dropped right in front of me, I was like, oh no. And then I see the blood, and I'm like, I'm not good with blood. And then he's screaming, help me. And I'm like, oh God, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, if anything happens to him, I'm done. I'm never doing this again.
That was like way fucked up. And I don't ever wish that on it. That's a very serious and scary thing. Obviously the initial reaction, you're super excited, but once 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds goes by and he's still laying on the ground and, you almost like started like convulsing a little bit.
Yes.
It was extremely fucking scary because I don't have any ill will or ill intent ever, period. It does not matter. I wouldn't, if it were up to me, I would go in there and I would just get my hand raised without having to like inflict pain on it. That was extremely fucking scary. And like, I had to like sit down and kind of take control of the crowd. Like, hey guys, like, you gotta shut the fuck up because like, this is kind of serious now. Yeah. That was bad. I mean, I opened a lot of eyes that night, cause that was a pretty big knockout. That was a pretty fucking big and scary knockout, but it was very concerning for sure. I was very concerned for him. I didn't know how he would react or if he was going to be okay. I'm surprised he didn't get taken out on a stretcher. And, in hindsight, he probably should have gotten taken out on a stretcher.
Yeah, but when he got up, he was happy. He's like, I'm just glad to be alive.
He thanked me like probably 15 times in the back for head kicking him. He was so happy to be head kicked by me. He was like, that was the coolest thing. I didn't even know where that came from. Thank you for doing it. I'm like, dude, don't fucking thank me, you lunatic. What the fuck? Yeah, he was like the nicest kid in the world. But I mean, I saw him walking around afterwards. He was in his boxers. He had sweatpants like down below his ass, no shirt on, no shoes, and he was drinking a beer. I'm like, dude, you just got really badly knocked out, you got to put that beer down, bro. Like now, it was bad. That was a bad one.
Yeah, I mean, I think if nobody believed in you or if nobody knew who you were, they knew that night.
Yeah, I think so too.
They knew that night.
I think so too. And then the one I fought, so that was August. I had fought in November 3rd, against a kid named Chris Thorin, and that was like the most experienced fighter I guess I fought on the local scene. And I think I opened a lot of, because I beat him up, but he threatened to take takedowns, and that was the big thing, is that people didn't know if I could wrestle or if I was just a boxer or a kickboxer. So I think I answered a lot of questions that night. Yeah. On top of the way I finished him, I didn't finish him with like a head kick in 7 seconds, which you could argue that it was fluky. All right, it's fine. But this, when I finished that kid, it was a very technical and setup sequence that I had done. So I think that is kind of where I turned the corner and opened people's eyes, like, hey, maybe he's not just this kid who's crushing cans. Maybe he actually knows how to fight. Maybe he's actually a technical fighter. But I didn't really care the things that people were saying. I wasn't letting that get to me. I win the fight, I go home, and then I was back in the gym the next week. I didn't let all like the pizzazz and I wasn't like, how do I put this? I wasn't like letting all that stuff get into my head, and I wasn't believing the words that people said. I still don't believe the things that people say, and they, when they say that I'm a savage or I'm a killer kickboxer or this, I don't really believe that stuff, because I think at that point, if you start eating too much into it, that's where you start going downhill, and that's where you start getting complacent. Whereas if you kind of, you shrug it off, you give your thank yous, your appreciation, all this, that, the other thing, and then you remain humble, it's only going to drive you to push further and kind of open more eyes. It's just kind of being happy but never satisfied. There's always room to grow. And just not getting caught up in like all the sexy stuff and the people tagging you on social media and the shares and them telling you you're the best. Like, all right, nice, like that's cool, but like there's still work to be done. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What makes you different out of everybody else?
I think it's just my mindset. I think a lot of people get too wrapped up in like, it's a fist fight and I have to go to war, I have to do this, that, the other thing, whereas like I'm the complete opposite. It's the way that we're talking right now, we can be talking on fight night and I'm going to be saying the same type of things. It's just kind of like my outlook on the sport, I think, is much different than most. I don't look at the sport as a fight. I look at the sport for what it is, and it's a sport. I'm competing with a set of rules. I'm playing a game against an opponent. I'm playing human chess against another opponent. I'm going to shake your hand before the fight. I'm going to hug you before the fight. I'm going to wish you luck. I'm going to wish you well. I'm going to wish you well throughout your camp. But we're just playing a sport. You don't see, soccer players or basketball players or football players like throwing, and attacking characters and kind of being a dickhead to, their opponents. It doesn't really need to be like that. We're just two guys chasing the same dream, trying to get some money. And that's really all there is to it. But I think I just stay true to myself. I think you see a lot of guys like, they get too wrapped up in like the sexy stuff and all that stuff, and they start to believe like the things that people say instead of just putting their head down and going back to work. And then, that's how you start like, you get the attacking of characters and you get like the ill will towards each other. Where then it's all fucking stupid. We're all one. We're all just competing, and we're all competing in a game. We're all competing in a fight. We're putting on a show. We're entertainers. I get selling a fight, but I don't get the whole attacking characters and being an asshole to your opponent. I'm gonna talk all these great things about my opponent, and then I'm gonna try to rip his head off in the cage. That's all that I need to say. Nothing else needs to be said. I don't need to say he sucks or I'm gonna fucking kill him. Like, that's all bullshit. Doesn't matter. But I know who I am. I stay true to myself, and I chase the number one thing, and that's happiness. If I'm happy, I'm good. As soon as I'm not happy doing this, I'm out. See ya. No, done deal. Not a problem. And I think a lot of guys get too wrapped up in trying to chase like materialistic things. I want a belt from this promotion. I want this, and this. Whereas if you're chasing that belt, as soon as you hit a roadblock, you're going down south. So I'm chasing this happiness. So I'm not attaching my happiness towards anything. I'm attaching my happiness, and I'm gonna have my happiness if I'm gonna win. I'm gonna have my happiness if I'm gonna lose. That's all there is to it. I think a lot of guys have different views with different things, and I think just with that little mental switch, I think you can be a lot happier than the way that you that you are if you're coming off a loss, or if you don't get the things that you want, or if you don't get to the UFC right when you want to, or if you lose one fight and hit a roadblock. I think it's a lot easier way to face adversity if you're just chasing happiness instead of you chasing, this materialistic thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What have been some of the struggles that you've had in this sport?
In this sport, well, initially, it was a complete mindset thing. I think, I took the 3 or 4 years off because I was a complete mental midget. I was scared of my own shadow. I had nothing to be afraid of. I was just afraid. My last amateur fight, I'm pacing back and forth before the fight, and I have tears going down my face. I'm telling Joe Lozen, I'm like, dude, this isn't cool anymore. I just want to go home. Like, this is literally fucking stupid. This is dumb. I just want to go home. I won that fight, and I'm a smaller guy. I'm a 135er. I won that fight in 57 seconds, and he was knocked out cold, sleeping. I'm an amateur 135er. Like, you don't really see that too often. And I wasn't even pumped. I wasn't ecstatic. I was like, dude, just get me the fuck home. Like, I'm done with it's done. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that was probably initially my biggest struggle. My biggest struggle is not that anymore. But again, that's staying true to myself. I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was doing it for the sexy stuff, and for trying to have a name, and trying to become famous or become popular or whatever it may be. It was never just because of true happiness. Now that I have the true happiness, I'm doing it. Literally, that's the only reason for the happiness. I learned a very, very valuable lesson the hard way. And I think that you can kind of see the way that, guys who don't have that mindset, they kind of you can see the way that they conduct themselves, the way that they present themselves. They're never really happy. There's always anger towards something. So that was definitely probably the most valuable lesson that I've learned in the sport, for sure, 1,000%.
What advice would you give the youth considering this sport?
What advice would I give who?
To the youth, to the younger crowd. Yeah,
just stay true to yourself. Do it for the right reason, and just shut the fuck up and work hard. There are easy ways, and there are cheat codes, and there are ways to fast track stuff, but you cannot lie to the man in the mirror. The man in the mirror knows all. You want to be looking at a year down the road. You want to be looking at a wiser you in the mirror. You don't want to be looking at the same you who's feeding yourself the same bullshit. You just got always be the hardest worker in the room, and stay true to yourself. Be loyal to the people who are loyal to you, and cut off any sort of toxicity that you may have in your life. That's the number one thing. You are what you're feeding yourself, both physically and what you're reading online, and what you're feeding yourself mentally, and what you're thinking to yourself. If you're thinking all these positive thoughts, then that's what you're going to see. If you're going to read all these positive things on social media, and that's how you're going to view the world. Perspective is key, and there's no way around it. You have to stay true. That's really it.
Stay true is very key. What challenges have you faced as a prospect?
Kind of always having a target on your back. That's really what it is. Like I said, everyone I got in at 4-0. There was no secret. I wasn't beating all the best guys in the area. I got a lottery ticket. I'm the first one to say that I got a lottery ticket to get to the UFC. People always had something to say. I just don't give a fuck. You could say whatever you want. I am where I am because of the way that I conduct myself, the way that I act, the way that I perform, the way that it's an accumulation of things, and it's all these different categories that got me into where I am. But if you took away one of those categories, I would not be here. If I didn't work as hard in the gym, I would not be here. If I didn't conduct myself the way that I did, I would not be here. There's a reason that people liked to come and watch me fight. There's a reason that I sold so many tickets when I fought. And it's not because I'm the most exciting fighter. It's because of people liked me for who I am. They know that I'm not feeding you bullshit. I'm going to be the same fucking idiot in the cage as I am out of the cage. I'm not being fake. This is all real. I think you see a lot of guys that they kind of try to sell, they're trying to be like the Conor McGregor or the Colby Covington, when it doesn't need to be that way. Especially on the local scene. I got these favorable matchups on the local scene because I had, I was selling tickets, and I was bringing something. It's a business, right? So I was bringing revenue in. So if you bring more revenue in, then you can pay the other side more to come and fight you, of course, right? So, but if you're a fucking dickhead, then you're not going to bring any revenue in, right? So it's just this big whole stupid game, and man, you just have to stay real. You have to stay true. If it's people can call out bullshit like that. If you're putting on an act, they're gonna call it out like that. You just have to stay real, and that's all. That's literally all it is. It's not rocket science.
Where are you training?
Well, so I was obviously at Lausanne's for ever since I started this crazy journey, and then I was supposed to fight March 28th, and the fight got canceled 10 days prior, so 12 days, March 16th. My family had a house in vacation house in the Kissimmee area or near Disney. So I knew everything was going to get locked down as soon as, sports started getting canceled. So my girlfriend and I, we fled the cold to be locked down in the sun instead. And things still aren't open in Mass. Florida is like one big circus, and you're seeing that with like all like the Republican or conservative states where things are opening up a lot faster than the liberal or the Democratic states. So gyms are opening down here, and training is much more available. So if I want to fight, then I kind of need to make a choice. I can't, I need to have access to resources, especially if I want to fight at the level that I'm fighting. And I have the okay from Lausanne and all these guys. I'm training at American Top Team out Coconut Creek right now. But you'll see on September 26th, Lausanne will be in my corner 1,000%. But yeah, that's how I got here. I didn't plan to flee Massachusetts and come down to Florida and start training down here. This is only here because I'm in Florida because of all the situation with the whole pandemic and COVID-19 and everything being in the lack of training resources in Mass right now.
Yeah, so it kind of worked out for you.
It definitely worked out. I'm okay being by the beach every day for sure.
That's awesome. How are you feeling for the September fight?
Oh man, I love it. I love it. I couldn't ask for a better matchup. It's no secret that I want to go out there and I just want to throw bombs and put on a show, right? So I mean, if they're gonna match me up with someone who is more of a wrestler based or jiu-jitsu based, then that's probably gonna be a more boring fight because I have good takedown defense. So be cuddling against the cage. My opponent is not gonna do that with me. My opponent is gonna throw bombs. He just knocked someone out clean in February or something like that. He's a little short boxer type kid. It's going to be such a fun fight. I'm so excited for it, especially with everything going on right now and no fans and everything's kind of the UFC actually is under a magnifying glass because they're the first sport up and running. Granted, other sports are getting back going right now, but nothing compares to fights in the ESPN base. I'm just excited to go out there and gotta like put on a show and kind of show who I am. It's a super super exciting matchup, and anyone who knows or follows the UFC or MMA and stylistically, you can just look at what we're dealing with styles. It's just a fun fight is the inevitable. There's literally 0% chance this fight can be boring. I can't wait.
So when you're gonna put on a show, do you mean like you're just gonna try to drag it? Or are you putting on a show but also trying to finish it up?
I'm trying to get in and out. Have you ever got punched in the face? That shit hurts. I want to be in and out. Yeah, ideally I'm gonna go and I'll finish them in the first round. Historically speaking, I don't think that's too far fetched based on my resume. But this kid's tough. I could end up sleeping that night. Who knows? I'm just excited to go out there and put on a fun fight. It's been too long. It'll be almost a year by then. That's way long. Like that's insane. I'm so healthy. Like I can make weight yesterday. You know what I mean? Like it's been way too long. I went through an entire fight camp to have it canceled 10 days before. Like it's just annoying and frustrating. But now that it's here, it's the lines, the contract signed. I did my side. The only thing I have to do, or we have to do, is stay healthy and make it to fight night. I can't wait. It's gonna be fun. And you have your new design for your shirts? Oh, I can't. It's kind of sucks. So like for the last fight, I had made those like stupid, silly Zohan Zoo shirts with Harambe, all that. But so they got made. The manufacturer fucked them up, so I made them do it again, and then they finished them, and then the next day everything got locked down. So I haven't even been able to distribute those shirts. So I think it would be very unfair for me to start putting up these new shirts and taking people's money again when I haven't done my end of the deal in the last one. if it was a different situation, then I 1000% would make new shirts because they're funny. They get like a good little buzz, you know, they on social media, and it's cool seeing people rock them. But I would feel I don't make, I make like maybe $100 out of all the shirts I sell, and I probably sell like 500 or 600 shirts. I don't do it for the money. So if I didn't meet my end of the deal for the last one, I can't do that. It'd be very unfair for me. People giving their hard-earned money and paying their hard-earned money to rep my brand, and I can't do that. So as soon as lockdown's lifted, I'll start being able to distribute those shirts. Then I'll be able to come up with some more funky ones. But until then, lockdown.
So they still haven't been able to release your shirts?
Well, they have them it's a shop in Easton. I can go get them in Easton, but with the whole COVID thing, it's kind of dicey. Like meeting up with so many people and handing them out. I don't want to be the reason to get sick. I don't want someone to get me sick, and I don't want to get anyone sick. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think the smartest idea right now is to kind of sit on it. The shirts aren't going anywhere. I have everything logged on who ordered what, and everyone understands. This is not a my fault thing, and it's not a your fault thing. It's just what we're being dealt right now. If I had paid for and got everyone to buy shipping, and then the manufacturer dealt with it, that would be a different story. But again, like most of like I'm not gonna say most of the people that purchase the shirts are like people that I'm friendly with, and they typically want to I want to see them, and they want to see me. I don't want to be mailing out these shirts. It's not like as special, for a lack of a better term, special of an experience. I want to be able to see the people and like actually thank the people for giving their support. I don't want to just text and say thank you. So I think it's just smarter to kind of sit on it right now, and then when it's time, we can kind of like set up a get together like I always do, and everyone can come and pick up their shirts. But I think it would be very unfair for me to make new shirts right now.
Makes perfect sense. But are you still in your mind creating what the new one's gonna be?
I'm always thinking of the next fucking stupid thing to do. So always thinking. We'll have some funky ones once I'm able to finally distribute these ones.
Is there anything that you would like to share with us before we wrap it up?
No, just wash your hands, wear your mask, and tune in on September 26th. That's really all I can say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on. I look forward to watching it.